Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for a presentation of My Plate. We have Illuminata Vilka, hopefully I said that right, joining us from Cornell Cooperative Extension, and she will be presenting the My Plate presentation to you. All right, Illuminata, you're all set, and you can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. So let me share my screen. So we are going to talk about the My Plate and a little bit more about each of the food groups. So as you heard, my name is Illuminada. I work at the Cornell Cooperative Extension. So today we are going to talk about the My Plate. And you have seen this plate before, I believe, but I don't know if you can also participate. Is that possible? Yeah. So if you would like to tell me, like looking at the My Plate, right? We have half of the plate fruits and vegetables. So if anyone would like to mention why did they chose the fruits and vegetables half of the plate, I would like to know if you know which are the like what are the nutrients, what is it important in those fruits and vegetables, why are they important for our body? If anyone would like to participate. Yeah, why would they be important? We're good.
I'm not sure if we'll have much participation, but I will keep my eyes on the chat for you if any questions do come through.
Okay, no problem. So going forward, the fruits and vegetables are going to be mostly important because of the nutrients of vitamins and minerals. So vitamins and minerals are going to be essentially coming from fruits and vegetables, and we need to have them every day. So we are going to talk a little bit of what do the dietary guidelines say, how much do we need of each of those food groups. So let's start with the fruits. So dietary guidelines say that the minimum amount that we need during the day is going to be 2 cups of fruit. So let's see what is going to be equal as 2 cups of fruit. Let me see. So basically, if we have like a cup of chopped fruit, is going to be equal as 1 measure of 1 cup of serving that we need during the day. Now, half cup of dry fruit is going to be equal as 1 cup. And basically, because the dry fruit, right, is going to shrink, like for example, raisins. So half cup of raisins is going to be equal as 1 cup of fruit of serving. Then a medium or a large banana will equal 1 cup. 32 grapes are going to be equal as 1 cup. Of course, not talking about the big ones, the small ones, that's 1 cup. And then the 100% juice, right? Because it's going to be the juice from the fruit. So it will be natural sugar. So let me go back. Now, all the colors are going to be important. Each one of those colors are going to give you different vitamins and minerals that your body is going to need. So it's very important to have a variety and all the colors. Then how do we eat them is also going to be important. So we have, for example, fresh fruit, right? Frozen, and we have them in a can. So you can have a variety of fruits using them. Like, for example, frozen fruit, maybe you would like to make smoothies with them. They are going to be lower prices for the frozen. Try to get fruits and vegetables that are in season. When they are not in season, frozen is a good option. They are going to be frozen on its optimal state. So it means that they are not going to lose nutrients. So it's not going to be bad to have them frozen. And you can use them in many ways, many preparations. At the end of the presentation, I will show you some links, websites that you can go and you can find more recipes. Now, for example, fruit in a can. When we have fruit in a can, it's not going to be bad. It's going to be okay to have them in a can, but we need to be careful with the sugar. Now, there are going to be 2 food groups that are going to have natural sugar. One of them is the fruits. And the natural sugar in fruits is going to be fructose. That's the name, how we call it, the sugar in the fruit, fructose. And that's the natural sugar that we are going to find in the fruits. So, for example, when we were talking about the 100% juice, it's going to be the juice from the fruit, so it's natural sugar. Now, when we have the fruit in a can, most of the time we're going to read heavy syrup or syrup. That's another way to say sugar, but this sugar is added sugar. Now, if we look at my plate here behind me, everything in that plate, doesn't matter, it could be fruits, vegetables, protein, like fish or chicken, doesn't matter what is it, is going to turn into sugar in our blood. And that is going to be the energy that your body is going to need. So when we have the fruit in a can and we have the one that says heavy syrup or syrup, that's added sugar that your body doesn't need. It's better to have the sugar, right, from all those food groups, but prefer not to have that added sugar. So try to find the ones that say 100% juice, because we know that the 100% juice will be the natural sugar. So prefer that. Now let's continue with the vegetables. Let's see, what do we need of vegetables during the day? Now, the minimum amount is 2.5 cups, right? Now let's see what is going to be equal as 1 cup. For example, if we talk about spinach, kale, right? Those are leafy greens. 2 cups are going to be equal as 1 cup. Then we are going to have like a medium size or large potato is going to be equal as 1 cup. 12 baby carrots are going to be equal as 1 cup. Then 1 cup of cooked black beans is also going to be equal as 1 cup, not difficult. And then the green beans, for example, 1 cup equals 1 cup. But again, the most important thing is going to be to have a variety and all the colors. And the way that we are going to eat them is also going to be important, right? We can also find them frozen. We can also find them in a can and fresh. Of course, fresh is going to be excellent to have them. We can find them maybe at the public market, and they are going to be lower prices. And also try to get fruits and vegetables that are in season. At the end of the presentation, I will also share with you a website that you can find fruits and vegetables that are in season from January to December, which are going to be the fruits and vegetables that farmers are going to produce more, right? And they will lower the prices, so they will like everybody to get rid actually from all the produce, right? Because otherwise it will get spoiled. So that's why the prices will be lower. And it's a good idea to have, fruits and vegetables in season. Now, going back to how do we eat them? Frozen. Frozen again is going to be frozen on its optimal state. It's not going to lose nutrients. So it's going to be okay to have them. We can also find them in a can. Now, when we get them in a can, the important thing with the can is that in a difference from the fruits are going to be preserved in the can with sugar, but the vegetables are going to be preserved in salt. Now, our body needs some salt, but doesn't need too much of salt. So we need to be careful with the amount of salt that we are going to have during the day. So if we get the vegetables in a can, try to get the ones that say low sodium or no salt added. So you will know that you will have less of that salt. And if you don't find the ones that say low sodium or no salt added, try to rinse them with water, right? Wash them with water. And then you can get rid of that salt. 30 to 40%, you are going to get rid of the salt. Now, let's continue talking about the grains. So for the grains, we're going to have two types of grains. We're going to have the refined grains and we're going to have the whole grains. Now, the dietary guidelines say that the minimum amount that we need is 6 ounces, like we look in the slide. So what is going to be equal as 1 ounce? We can have a slice of bread is going to be equal as 1 ounce. A cup of rice is going to be equal as 2 ounces. So the equivalence, you can find it in choosemyplate.gov. So you can also have the chart and you will look what is going to be equal as 1 ounce. And we need to have 6 ounces, mainly because of the energy. And the grains, the whole grains are going to be better for us. They are going to prevent heart diseases and they are going to help the digestive system. So the dietary guidelines say that half of our grains need to be whole grains. That's why it is important. Heart is going to prevent heart diseases, right? And it's going to help the digestive system. So let me explain why is it going to be a difference between the whole grain and the refined grain. So I hope most of you know the difference. Like if you have tried white rice and the brown rice, there is a little difference, right? So the white rice is going to be like the refined grain. That's the refined grain. And the brown rice is going to be the whole grain. So if we look at the slide, outside, this will be the image of the whole grain. Outside the whole grain and any kind of grain is not just the rice. It can be um, oats, it can be millet. If you like buckwheat, bulgur, those are different grains. So outside, they are going to have the bran, that's the fiber. Inside is going to be the endosperm that we also call a starch that is going to have some vitamins and minerals. And the little one here is going to be the germ. This little germ can have 40 vitamins and minerals all concentrated in that little one. And actually that's where the plant starts to grow, it starts growing because of all those nutrients, right? It starts to grow, the plant grows. So this will be the whole grain. Now, how they make this whole grain a refined grain? Like for example, this is the brown rice, how they make it white. They're going to take the bran out, they are going to take the germ out. What we are going to eat is a starch, which means some vitamins and minerals, but not all what we can really have. So it's going to be important to have those whole grains. We are going to get more when we eat those whole grains than when we eat the refined grains. So moving forward, now let's talk a little bit about the protein. So protein, we're going to have also two types of protein. Protein that comes from the animal, protein that doesn't come from the animal, right? And as we look at the photograph here, right? We have fish, maybe this is pork and chicken here, right? Cheese is also going to be considered protein. Now, the protein that doesn't come from the animal, like beans, for example, seeds, nuts, those are going to be the protein that doesn't come from the animal. So the dietary guidelines in general, animal protein and vegetable protein, how much do we need to have during the day? We need 5 ounces and a half. Now, again, the same as the for the grains, this is an average, and you can have more like a specific in the choosemyplate.gov. So if you go on the website, you will have charts that depending on our age, male, female, we are going to need a different amount of protein and also grains. So in general, yes, we need 5 ounces and a half. So what is going to be equal as 1 ounce, for example, or 2 ounces? So if we have an egg, that will be equal as, let's say, 2 ounces. So it's just an example, but you can also find more in choosemyplate.gov. So about the proteins and the types of protein. So we have 7 days of the week, right? 2 days we need to have fish and seafood. And another 2 days we need to have protein that doesn't come from the animal. So it's going to be important to have a variety. That's why we need to switch, right? So 2 times protein that doesn't come from the animal. But now there is going to be a very important mineral that we are going to find in the protein. So what is going to be that mineral? Is going to be iron. So iron is going to be important because it's going to prevent us to get anemia, to become anemic. So it's going to be an important mineral, and we are going to find it in protein that comes from the animal and protein that doesn't come from the animal. Now, the interesting part in this is the way our body is going to absorb that iron. It's going to be different. So, for example, when we have fish, chicken, turkey, our body, right, animal protein, our body is going to absorb the iron easily. It's not going to need any help. But when we have protein that doesn't come from the animal, it's going to need a little bit of help of vitamin C. And vitamin C, where do we find vitamin C? Right, in oranges, right? Strawberries, Then, like for example, a kiwi, a little kiwi can give you all the vitamin C that you need during the day. So it's going to be important to have that vitamin C to help our body to absorb that iron that doesn't come from the animal. So always try to have some vitamin C. For example, if you have your rice and beans, right? Try to have a little bit of vitamin C, maybe an orange juice or lime juice or lemon juice. And that vitamin C is going to help you absorb that iron that doesn't come from the animal. Um, so it's going to be important to have a variety. Again, 7 days of the week, 2 days fish and seafood, and another 2 days protein that doesn't come from the animal. So always try to have a variety. Now, let's talk a little bit about dairy. So that's going to be the fifth food group. And dairy, they could have avoided dairy, but it's going to have another mineral that is going to be important for our body. So maybe we heard this before, right? Calcium. Calcium is going to be in dairy. We have cheese, milk, yogurt, right? It's going to have that calcium important for our bones, right? To make them stronger. So what happens if, for example, I give my example, I cannot have any dairy because I'm allergic to dairy. So I have a skin reaction. So, but I need that calcium, right? So how do I include it in my diet? We have other sources of calcium, like vegetables, right? For example, the greens like spinach, broccoli, kale, right? Those are going to be rich in calcium. Tofu, if you have heard about tofu, it's another good source of calcium. Almonds, the nuts, especially almonds, are going to have a lot of calcium. So if, let's say, just one day you don't want to have milk or cheese, but you need to have some of that calcium, you can substitute it with another sources of calcium. Now, what do the dietary guidelines say about calcium, or I'm sorry, dairy? So the minimum amount is going to be 3 cups of dairy during the day. It can be milk, right? It can be cheese, but always try to choose the lowest fat. We have, for example, here in dairy, try to get the 1% instead of the whole milk. Whole milk is going to have a lot of fat. Now, something that I didn't mention, everything, and this is also linked to protein. So everything that comes from the animal is going to have saturated fat. That saturated fat is going to little by little clot our arteries with fat, and the arteries are the ones that are connecting to our heart. So if those pipes, let's say, are going to be clotted with fat, we can have a heart attack or a stroke in the long term, meaning later in years. So we need to prevent that. Try to have the least amount of fat. For example, 1% milk, right? Low fat milk, fat-free milk. Those will be the best. The type of cheese also, always look at the labels, try to look at the total fat, try to make it less than 10%. And even the suggestion is also for the cholesterol less than 5 or 5, less than 5. So always the least amount of fat that you can have during the day will always be better, right? And yogurt. With the yogurt, we also have different types of 1%, 2%. So always try to have the least amount of fat. Now with the yogurt and also the milk, we have different flavors, right? Those flavors are going to be added sugar. So again, added sugar that your body doesn't need. So be careful with the amount of sugar. Be careful with how much. And now the new labels, they will show you the added sugar. If we look at the label, we have the total sugar and added sugar. So try that added sugar will be 0, no added sugar. Now, for example, if we have some yogurt, how can we, let's say we buy the plain yogurt, right? How are we going to give that sweetness or add a little bit of sweetness? And we have, for example, the fruits, right? So we are going to have natural sugar in the fruits. And the other food group, as I mentioned at the beginning, is going to be the one that will have the natural sugar. will be dairy. So dairy, like for example, cheese and milk is going to have that sweetness, a little bit of sweetness, is the natural sugar. And the natural sugar that we find in dairy is going to be called lactose. Lactose is the natural sugar in dairy. Now, some people are lactose intolerant, right? We heard that. So it's because their stomach doesn't tolerate that type of sugar, that natural sugar, lactose in dairy. So when we have the yogurt, prefer the plain yogurt, right? You can add some fresh fruit if you would like. I prefer not to add or to have that added sugar, and always look at those labels and choose the one that will have the least amount of added sugar if you're going to have that, the least amount of added sugar, because we really don't need it. We are going to have everything that we eat is going to turn into sugar. So we are not going to need anything else but all the nutrients, right? We need some dairy like milk, fish, chicken, fruits like apples, strawberries, grapes, all of them, right? Prefer that, because that everything is going to turn into sugar. That's the energy that your body is going to need. Now, this is like a brief example of how we're going to distribute all what I mentioned to you. Like the 3 cups of dairy, for example. Here for breakfast, you can have a glass of milk. As a snack, maybe how about some yogurt with some fruit, right? And then another snack here, we can be cheese. 2 slices of cheese are going to be equal as 1 cup. Again, all these, what is the equivalence? You can find it in choosemyplate.gov. So try to go there. You have more information, more than what I am giving you today. Now, fruit. I mentioned that we need to have 2 cups of fruit during the day. So for example, an apple in the morning is going to be your 1 cup. Then, for example, those grapes, if you really like grapes, right? And we know that 32 grapes are going to be equal as 1 cup. You can have half of those 32 here and the other half here, right? A snack, and maybe some more for lunch. And those are the 2 cups that you need to have during the day. So it's not going to be difficult to make those 2 cups. Then some protein here, it can be peanut butter. And then here the grains, always remember to have those whole grains, right? Prevent heart diseases and help the digestive system. So we can have the protein peanut butter with some grain, whole grain. So that's the grain, that's the whole grain that we have. Then here for lunch, right? If we have those grapes, then some more protein, maybe we can make a sandwich. So you can have some chicken with the protein again. Also try to have the least amount of fat. So if we have chicken, prefer like the grilled chicken with the breast, right? Prefer the breast because it's going to have less fat. Without the skin, it's going to be better because it will be less fat. Then some grains, it can be whole wheat bread. If you want your white bread, it's okay. You can also have the whole grain here in the morning. And then maybe some vegetables, maybe some cucumbers if you like, or carrots, or maybe some lettuce with your sandwich, right? Always try to have a variety. Include those vegetables. For vegetables, we are going to need 2 cups and a half. So always try to include them even as a snack, right? Like for example, here, some cheese with carrots. You can have that as a snack. Or something else, like be creative, right? Try to include, and it doesn't need to be always the dairy. You can change it. Maybe you can have dairy during lunchtime, like some cheese here. So always try to have a variety and be creative. And I will share some websites at the end that I hope they will help you. And then for dinner, right? Maybe you can have some beans with some rice, whole with I'm sorry, brown rice. So that will be the whole grain. And then some broccoli or spinach, right? Try to have more of those veggies, some veggies, stir-fry veggies, that works. But always try to have a variety, all those colors, and more of those. The minimum amount that I mentioned to you, like 2 cups of fruit, 2.5 of vegetables, is the minimum amount. You can have more of that. So do not limit yourself with how much of fruits and vegetables, right? Now, another idea, quick ideas of how you can have meals and snacks, like pre-cut vegetables, for example, the frozen veggies, right? We boil them, we cook them, it's ready, it's quick. Then we have the peaches in a can, prefer the ones that say 100% juice, right? And then some milk, right? Try to make it low-fat milk. So there we have, like these ones are vegetables, that's one food group. Then we have the fruit here, that's another food group. And then the milk, that's the dairy, another food group. So at least 3 or 4 food groups are going to make a balanced meal. So that's just to keep in mind. Now, for breakfast for dinner, meaning that if you like, for example, an omelette, right, it's going to be quick, something that you do for breakfast, but you can also do it for dinner, right? You chop some veggies, you mix it up. Here we have the example of a sandwich. So it's going to be up to you, always trying to include all those food groups to make nice meals. And if you want to make them quick, it's not a bad idea to make something for breakfast during dinner time. That's the idea. So then another milk, like low-fat milk, right? And fruit, right? Any kind of fruit, and prefer the fruits in season. Now, another example is the low sodium soup. I'm sorry. So, for example, the soups that we find in the supermarkets, the ones that are in a can, they are going to be loaded with salt. They are going to have too much salt. So, always be careful with the amount of salt. Prefer to make your soups at home. You know what you are using, how much of salt. So always be mindful of that. Then a salad, again, all those vegetables, all the colors. You can even mix some fruit with the vegetables, right? Maybe some raisins or the craisins, the cranberries, or grapes. You can also add some grapes, right? Be creative. And some yogurt. So low fat yogurt. Now, always remember the least amount of fat, the least amount of salt, the least amount of sugar will always be better. And this is something that I wanted to share that I thought it would be interesting. This is the 211 Lifeline, and it has a lot of information about pantries, about food, like pantries or FoodLink mobile pantries, and the ones that sell fruits and vegetables. That you also have home delivery meals, baby formulas, where to find baby formulas, food pantries, hot meals, seasonal meals. If you need more information about SNAP or how to more information about WIC, you can also get that. Now with the FoodLink track, and I hope you are familiar with it, you get fruits and vegetables, and they are always lower prices with them. They go everywhere in Rochester. Here, when you go to the website, you can straight go to their website and find their schedule, because they stay like 45 minutes to 1 hour. Now, if you have a SNAP, you can use your SNAP card, and for every dollar that you spend with your SNAP, they're going to give you a $1 voucher, and this will be till $10. So if you get $10 of fruits and vegetables, they will give you a $10 voucher that you can use through the year. So the more fruits and vegetables you can have, the better it's going to be, right? So take advantage of those little things. Now, the Rochester Public Market, right, is where we can find lower prices and more. So in bulk, so we can afford, like we can have more of those fruits and vegetables in our diet. And what I was mentioning to you at the beginning, we have this, this is from the USDA. So you just need to type agriculture New York or New York A to C produce, and you will find this website. It has the produce from January to December, which are going to be the fruits and vegetables that the farmers are going to have more, so the prices will be lower, right? So I hope you can enjoy that information too. Now the recipes. So these are different recipes that you can try, and I hope you will enjoy them. They are very easy. One of them is What's Cooking, that's from the USDA. The other one is Food Hero, that's a university from Oregon. Now we also have the SNAP at New York, that's part of our program. Very quick recipes and also videos. And then the Choose My Plate, right, is the one, all the My Plate, what I was talking to you about, they also have recipes. So you have different resources here that you can use. And the good thing with them is that you can type, let's say you look at your fridge and you have broccoli and you don't know what to make with broccoli. You are tired of doing the same recipe. You just need to type broccoli and it will give you all the recipes that you will find with the broccoli. So it's not a bad idea to look for those websites and try to be creative again, right? Whatever you have in your pantry, and you can add more of those fruits and vegetables, create new dishes, try to have a variety and a colorful plates. That will be the key to having a balanced meal. Be careful though with the amount of fat that you are going to have or to use in your meals. Frying, prefer not to fry, because frying is going to add more oil, more fat. And again, if we add more fat, that fat is going to clot our arteries little by little. So we need to be careful with that. That's why be careful with the amount of fat. Now, last, we have, I have a small example of what you will find in the SNAP on the website that I showed you before in this one. So you will have, this is an example of a personal pizza recipe. And it will give you also the nutrition fact information and how many servings. So all of the websites that I share with you are going to be low for, you are not going to use many ingredients, I'm sorry, and they are going to be easy to make, quick. You can also find a video recording from those. So I encourage you to visit those websites. And I hope I didn't talk that much and you understood what I said. So thank you again. And I don't know if there are any questions that I can also take. Yes. Oh, sorry.
I don't see anything in the chat right now.
Okay.
But if anyone does have any questions about My Plate, please feel free to go ahead and talk or type anything in the chat if you'd like.
Yes.
I just want to thank you for this information. It was really helpful and really informational. Like, I took a lot from it. Didn't know that we need to switch, that we need to have dairy 2 days and 2 days non-dairy food. Didn't know that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad I could give a little bit of information.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you, and that we will be sending this out to other students who could not make it. So this information was very important and very needed. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
All right, well, Illuminati, yes, if there's no questions, please feel free to end the presentation. I can stop recording right now.